Hey guys, it's Jason from the Dental Equipment Repair channel. Today I'm actually here on a little job. I have a client with a vacuum that's not working right and also a plaster trap issue. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can help restore some order in this dental office. And I think this is gonna be a good video to shoot. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but that's kind of the fun of what I do. You never quite know what you're going to get into. So I'm hoping for some easy fixes here today and some good opportunity to instruct and train. And so here we go. All right, so the first thing we're going to need to do is make sure that we go into the shop with the right tools. I have my tool bag here, and there's also a multimeter I'm going to grab here. So multimeter, tool bag. Let's see what we can get into. Hey Doc, how's it going?
It's hooked up to the main one right now.
Okay. Is that usually stuck like that?
It's on the list of today too.
Okay, yeah, because that's stuck open.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. All right. Sweet, man. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good.
It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
So, all right, so we have the vacuum switched over. Do you have any other valves that are leaking or stuck open?
Just that one.
Okay, cool. So let's go down to the where do you want to start? The vacuum, right? The vacuum's the...
Interesting. So, this is empty now, right? It's been full for like the last hour, and it just sucked that up.
Right. Now, one of the things you want to keep in mind with that is they have these little buckets with like they mix water in with the air. Because what can happen is if you suck water in, like you just submerge it, what can happen is the water hammer. So it can, if all that water hits your pump at one time, it can actually bend the impeller. Because water, it's like when someone jumps off a bridge, when they hit, it's like the water acts like a solid, and so they die from the impact. Same thing with the water. If you just suck in a slug of water and it fills up your pipe and goes there, it'll just like, it can bend the, you know, it's spinning about 3,000 RPMs, and it can bend this thing, the impeller or the shaft. But so that valve was open. So your system only has like so much capacity. So if there's a bunch of valves, like that valve being open could have been preventing that one from sucking up liquid, because the system, it's like trying to suck a drink with a straw and a hole in it.
Yeah.
Because like when you suck on the straw, if there's a hole above the water line, then it might not go in.
Okay.
So let's so was your first pump not working with during this process?
The vacuum pump was not working at all for like the last hour of the day. When I switched over to the backup, everything worked normally.
Okay, cool. So right now, I think this right here not sucking up is correlated to that valve being open.
You just walked through the door, that was full.
Right, and then I closed it and then it sucked up.
Yeah.
So that was correlated to that. Do you have any other noises or anything going on over here? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this cap right here, this cap is not on all the way. So it's kind of like crooked. Mm-hmm. So see, that's not on. So that's actually, was this room in use today?
Yeah, maybe that's the culprit.
Okay, yeah. So, and it's probably leaking so much air. Huh? Okay, so now that's completely quiet. All right, so, all right, so that could have affected your other pump. Now, what happens is when there's an air leak, when there's a air leak, when there's an air leak that's really big, it will the noise won't be a sharp noise. Like when the air leak is small, it has a very loud, sharp noise. I don't hear anything in here.
No, I hear something somewhere still.
That's going to be over on the, that's going to be in the one that's open right here. It just finished off. Okay, so that one was open. Okay, so that was, yeah, so the HV is, oh. Hmm? I can hear something here. But it's not a sharp noise.
I think the same thing over here, Jason.
Okay.
Can you hear it from over there? I hear. I think this is not on right.
Yeah, so yeah, oh yeah, that's definitely not on. So whenever you mess with this, what you do is you open up the valves, and then that reduces the amount of pressure here, so then you can more easily move this. And that one probably does want to be cleaned out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, yep, so, and it's possible with these being closed, if you mess with this, it'll suck down and be harder to turn. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and we'll close these. Perfect. That's what we're going for, is perfect silence. And I have another valve for that. We can just put another valve on, or you can switch it to like a less used area. What about in that corner room? I noticed there's a valve hanging straight down. Is that one?
It's an extra one.
Well, why don't we take this one and switch it with that?
Let's do that. Because this one's gonna.
Because you can. That's a really good strategy. You can switch things around. Yeah.
Do you have in your truck one of these by chance? No, it's okay if you don't.
I do, of course.
You do? This button's always getting stuck, and then I come to a puddle of water.
Yeah. So this.
You can like fix it somehow, but the water button, you can even see it's lower. It's almost partial.
Have we tried to fix this one before?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I have the buttons. This is called a comfort. It's a precision comfort syringe, and
The
you
one
can
you
tell
picked
because
up was in a different room.
Gotcha. Yeah, the precision comfort has the little cutout right there. So these buttons are different. So I can bring those buttons in, no problem. We can switch this for the other room. So this is because the other one that just hangs straight down is not. If it's not used, then that's a really good strategy in these dental offices to just move something from a not used position over to a position that's more used. So like this one here, nobody's probably ever used that, or not much. So
Just switch it
now we'll
back.
just make sure it's not gonna be gross here.
Oh,
Yeah, it's pretty yucky. So, so now what we'll do is we're gonna take this over here to your sink and then wash it out. You should have these cleaning brushes over here, and yeah, there'll be like one that has like a bunch of bristles on it.
Like a bottle cleaner.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and then we'll just take this and shove it. Oh, come on.
Is that one like that too?
It is, but it could be just because it hasn't been moved at all.
Okay.
And whoa, man, holy mackerel! All right, you know what? Maybe that's weird. Yeah, some of these things don't like to be not moved. Actually, we got a set of gloves. Let's be smart here. Beautiful. Sweet, thanks. Yeah, we'll solve this. I think because whenever I go into a vacuum problem, one of the things I have to figure out is there a problem with the vacuum itself, or is there a problem with the system? Vacuums have a rating. It's based on the horsepower and then users. So 1 horsepower, it's half of a horsepower per user. So if you have a 1 horsepower vacuum, that's 2 users. The HVE is going to be 1 user, and a saliva ejector is half of a user, and nitrous is going to be half of a user as well. Like if you have a suction, like a scavenger. And push that out there. All right, that's interesting. So what happens is if you have a leak acts like users, and it's possible that you have it's possible that you had so many leaks that your vacuum didn't work. Because if it started like it right at the end of the day when they started kind of shutting down for the day, and really like if you have a lot of things adding up, it'll seem like one big thing. And I can't remember if your pump is 1 horsepower or 2. I think it might be 1. But with a 4-chair practice, like 4, right? 4, yep. So that could be the issue. Oh, there we go. All right, so this thing just hasn't moved in forever. So by cleaning it out, I think some of that garbage was kind of stuck in there. So let's see if that's easier to move here. All right, so that's way easier. So it was just stuck. Okay. But that's going to be way better to use. Now, if you're ever wondering if your valves are stuck, you can or are clogged, you can basically pull the valve off, and then you just look at it through a window, and you can actually, if you can see through it, then you know it's good. So you just pull it out, and because sometimes I get calls for no suction, it'll be localized to one room. Mm-hmm. And the issue is really that there's like a piece of tooth in it or something. Yeah. And this one, we know that that's. Yep. And this one actually has a bar in it. Yeah. So that bar is to keep the teeth from going in. So we'll put this over here. We'll confirm that's good. So this saved a little bit. Still seems like we're maybe a little weak. Mm-hmm. But we can walk around and see if there's any other noises. Yeah. Yeah. And I do hear something from back here. All right. I don't think we put the other handle back on that one. I did. It might be open though. Hmm? Yeah. There we go. Whoops. Okay, so we'll go ahead and. And then if it comes down to it later where we need to have, we need to replace it, we can. But I just say for right now, unless you were just completely, you know, unless you were desperate for it. Yeah. That's been hanging in there for years. Gotcha. Now, is there ever gonna be any need for this, for that valve? In the other rooms. Like for nitrous or something, or do you ever think? So in two of the other rooms, we have the attachments for the dry shield. Mm-hmm. I might do that in this room at some point in the future. Gotcha. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then we'll just leave it. Because what I would do in another office that needed to have like nitrous, what I would do is I would cut it and I would let it hang down from here, mm-hmm. And then what that would mean is that would give you the valve like at that location, and then you could go ahead and put on your nitrous scavenger. But for right now, as long as it's not getting if it's not too big of a problem, it's fine like that. Okay, cool. All right, so sweet. So see if this is working. Like a normal flip. It's pretty strong, yeah. Yeah. No, nothing. Well, I know in the past your vacuum has had a problem with that screen. So let's go take a peek at that. Because if that screen is like, so what it could be doing is it could actually be building up a vacuum reservoir in your pipes, mm-hmm. And your Liberty Boss. And then what happens is once we open it, that vacuum reservoir is depleted. Yeah. It's like almost like pressure in a ball, except opposite. It's the vacuum stored. I'm eating them in a second. Do you have any more of those strainers down there? There should be some down there, right? Or do I need to get one off the truck?
There's some down there. I don't know if they were extra ones that you put down there or if they were used ones.
Okay.
You take a quick peek and see.
Yeah. Let's take it. All right. All right, so it looks like we have a clogged strainer here. So that's kind of full of some stuff. Also, yeah. So that guy looks kind of clogged right there. Mm-hmm. Yep. So what's happening, okay, is going to be that the vacuum is, when everything's closed, it's able to build up suction in the piping. And then when you open the valve, it's restricting right there.
That's the whole point. So it just needs a new one of those guys?
Yeah.
Those are used, right?
They're used, but I have some on the truck, but I'll tell you what, let me just walk you through what we would do if you didn't have any, and that'll be interesting little thing here, because I think this is actually, if you're in this situation, it's not unrecoverable, because you can always like clean it out even though it's gross. But what I'll still do is give you a couple extras, but I'll clean this one, provide 2 extras, and you'll be good to go. Okay. All right, and so main thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off the vacuum, okay, that's how we're going to turn it off, and then we'll unscrew this guy. All right, and this is definitely a gloves situation. So what's going on in there is it's all just kind of full of stuff. Now with these, all the material goes on the inside of it, and then and it clogs the screen from the inside out. So you can't really tell good looking from the outside if there's an issue. But pretty much all we need for this process is just the canister and a toothbrush. So let's go snag a toothbrush. Or there we go. We've already done this before. And then we'll just go up to the toilet and I'll show you how it's done. This is definitely one that you want to kind of, I don't know, either do yourself or delegate to somebody that's, you know, an employee that is okay with it, because it's not a super glamorous thing. So pretty much just take the container, swish it around in the toilet. Now what's going to come out of it is this O-ring, and the O-ring, you know, should be the O-ring should be there. This is important. You always want to make sure that the O-ring comes out, because if the O-ring gets stuck in there, the O-ring is 2 of them won't seal twice as good. So what I'll typically do is just kind of work on one half of this at a time. Like I said, it's not the most glamorous thing, but all this is a screen, and it can be pretty easily cleaned out. And the reason, like, you can buy a case of 24 of these, but honestly, it's a cleanable thing. So, but this is not really where I would try and save money as a doctor. But if you don't have any of them, then this is an option, to just bail yourself out, right? Because if this thing's closed and you can't make money because your vacuum is not working, this is better than just being like, well, I can't treat patients because my vacuum is not powerful. Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at. This is not like, oh, I learned we can clean this in the toilet, so we're never gonna buy any. Like, don't do that to your people. Yeah. This is, like I said, this is an owner job, and but it's one I do pretty frequently, just because I don't know. if I model this for clients, at least you have, you know what to do. You know and that's really my, like I said, it's not really a fantastic job, but I don't know, but it's real, and ultimately, it's you know, it gives you something that can, you know, it can bail you out. So there you go. Yeah. So we're gonna put that back on, and we're gonna see if our situation is better, which I'm pretty sure it will. So I used to work on did you know I used to work on airplanes? I told you that, right? Yeah, I was a KC-10 hydraulics mechanic. And one of the things that you kind of learn when you're doing aircraft maintenance is there's a lot of like backup systems. Yeah. And that planes really crash because there's only one problem. They crash because like there's 2 or 3 things that happen at the same time or more, and all the problems add up and create a catastrophic failure that results in people dying. Dental offices are the same way. We found one lid was loose, we found another valve was sticky, and then here we found this was
all 3 things.
All 3 things added up, and they made it seem like there was a failure with your equipment. Now we'll verify, we'll test it. All right, and all right, cool. Now, what I see here is I see kind of just a very calm and serene level. Yeah. It's not like rowdy. When the inside clogs, what happens is the air can only move through little places. So instead of it coming through the whole screen, because when all the crap comes in, it clogs from the top and then down to the bottom. So that means that the air that's coming through the top is forced through a smaller hole in the bottom. And so that's how come it's really rough and jumpy. Okay. So if that's rough and jumpy, you know that you have an issue. Now right up here, I'm looking in your vacuum gauge right up here is about, it's at about 15. So that is probably a little high for a wet ring vacuum pump. But I also see here that you're running a 1 horsepower pump. So what I mentioned earlier is really this pump is designed for at one time 1 HVE and maybe 2 slide ejectors. So if you have problems upon problems, that adds up to users, and then you don't have anything left over for the actual treatment itself. So I feel pretty good about this. I think when we go up there and test it, it's gonna run well. Does that make sense? It does. All right. Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
All right.
Awesome. So that particular issue is solved?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Back here.
Solid. All right.
So this, you can let me know. Like I said, I got down there with the flashlight, like you said, but I had to go.
No, we're good. So, all right. So what we're looking at here is it's a plaster trap. A plaster trap always goes on the drain of a Buffalo model trimmer, Buffalo grinder, whatever you want to call it. And the reason for that is that your pipes can fill up with the sediment and cause major building issues. So it doesn't matter if you're a tenant or if you're an owner or a
move all that stuff out of the way.
yeah, it doesn't matter if you own or if you're a tenant. If you have that there, you need to have that there. Now this right here is in place of what's called a P-trap underneath the sink, and that is and that's because this actually provides a water break between the sewer and your sink. Now the reason that it stinks is because if you dump anything in here, like a coffee or there's anything in here other than water and plaster, it basically turns into the sewer. Now, it is basically sewer water in there. So we want to remember that as we're handling it. Now, the way we're going to check it is we're going to lay our flashlight on top, and then we're going to go and turn off the light to the room. And what we can see here is we can actually see through that, okay? Now, your plaster trap is set into the sink because of the space. So you can, this is actually a legitimate, and you probably don't need those. These are probably actually a lot of basement items.
Yeah.
Okay. So this plaster trap actually is not, it's stinky because it's connected to the sewer, but it's not like full in the sense that you need to
Do anything.
To really do anything. Now what I'll do is I'm gonna, maybe I'll leave that there. And what we'll do is we'll just gently, oh my gosh. Yeah, see, I don't even know. Like we've actually got, we got like some parts under here. These are light bulbs.
Oh, I've got no idea what's under here.
Okay, well, all right. Well, you know what? That's actually a really good tip. And I don't know, do you ever use that vacuum?
I don't, but
okay. All right, a little, yeah, a little, I don't know. I mean, that's something I always advise my clients. Take a little bit of time, kind of, I mean, COVID's over. You don't need that anymore. Nobody's doing COVID theater anymore. Oh my gosh. Did we really live through that? Did we really experience that together? Oh my gosh. Oh man, all right, you got your amalgamator there. All right. Yeah. I don't know. That's something I would definitely encourage any of my clients to just periodically go through. Anything that you don't know what it is, like ask your repair guy, hey, what is this and do I need it? And we'll say like, oh no, you don't need it. And then you can free up all this space to actually put stuff you're gonna use. So now this bucket's full of water, so it's heavy. But to inspect it, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna lift this up. All right, and okay, so now that's setting on the edge there. All right, and what you're gonna see here is that it's actually, we're actually like 5%. So when you called me and you're like, hey, it's full, I was like, all right, well, let's take a peek at this. Because now it is, it does say it's about a year and a half, or a year and, what is that, 4 months old. But I actually don't really hate,
It's not full.
It's not full. Now, there's this, if you go to a pool store, they have this stuff called chlorine powder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, let's see here. I'm going to pull it up here on my phone. And what we'll do is we're just going to go plaster. I do so much on my phone for research. So modeling this is kind of, this is good. Plaster, trap, install manual. And I'll go ahead and link this inside the video here. But the disposable plaster trap instructions from Patterson, as long as it looks like a sheet of paper and it you know, just click on it. Here we go. This paper standard, it goes through all the installations. So if you have a plumber that's putting these in for you, you can basically hand this to them and they should be able to make sense of what all this means. But right down here, it says maintenance and trap replacement. We're going to get down here to where it says, right there where it says, to help maintain sanitary conditions, it's recommended to flush a couple spoonfuls, very precise, a couple of spoonfuls of granulated chlorine powder into the trap once a week. This may be purchased at any pool supply store. Okay? And that's going to keep your smell down.
So we just like down the sink?
Exactly, yeah. Because what's going to happen, right, is if you put pool chlorine powder in there and wash it down, it's going to actually go down into the bucket, and the chlorine powder is going to go to the bottom, and the chlorine is going to keep the sewer smell. It's going to keep it fresher in there. And it just says a couple a week. Now, if you're not using this a lot, then I don't know. I mean, it might be every couple weeks, maybe once a month, or maybe when it smells.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for you. So at this point, I would not recommend replacing the plaster trap because it's not full. I would start with a chlorine powder, and if it still stinks, then, you know, it could just be that maybe there's an odor that's been established where maybe, but there's no regulatory requirement to replace the plaster trap once a year. It's a recommendation. Now, if that thing was half full or 3/4, I'd say, no problem, Doc, we'll go ahead and do it. But this is not something that I would replace.
Sounds good to me.
And this one right here is actually a really great plaster trap. It's a Tiger trap bucket, and they have these like little blue, rings. And the blue rings are actually really good because ones without the blue rings, it's like a rubber material. The blue rings actually keep the bucket, they keep this part that goes inside of it from cracking anything on the lid. You can imagine, like, if it's just plastic, there's a major branded one that will actually crack the lid, and then this will start leaking and have a problem. But your plaster trap, I think, is going to be good to go. I would try the chlorine powder, and if we need to come back, we can go ahead and do that.
Sounds good.
Sweet. Was there anything else that was on the list? You said there was one more thing. Air water syringe.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right, the buttons. So we'll just fix that up real quick.
Yep.
And then, yeah, man, I can be out of your hair.
Fantastic.
For these repairs, I have a air water syringe repair kit. This thing has all the pieces in it. So for technicians, kind of just being prepared for any problems that arise is pretty good. All right. Now, So first step is you're going to go ahead and make sure that nothing's coming out of the buttons. And we're going to go ahead and locate the kit. This is kit 3098. That's not the right one. This kit is 3635. This is the right kit. Okay, grab one of those. This is going to have just about everything that you need for one syringe. So step one, push the buttons, make sure you don't have any water or air coming out. Good. Now there's a tool, air water syringe repair tool. It's this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and push the buttons in, push the pin out. Okay, pin's gonna come out. Now the way the pin works is the pin goes through this channel and it actually locks in the button, like right there, okay? So by pulling the pin out, it releases the buttons. Now if you don't have a set of buttons and you have a water leak, what you can do is you can switch the buttons around and you can buy yourself a little bit more time. Because a little air, if a button is leaking a little bit of water, it doesn't matter if it's leaking any air, right? So you can save yourself a little bit. So I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to go ahead and clean out the air side, and then I'm going to clean out the water side. And there's sometimes a little bit of corrosion in these. It's pretty common. And we'll run a couple Q-tips. And this is the water this is the oral cavity water. So we're gonna, clean that out. So that's a little bit better. Okay, there we go. So now, there's a material that, let's see, do I have it here? I don't. Let me get one more thing. We're gonna get some silicone grease. The silicone grease is a lubricant. This stuff is pretty cheap. You can find it at any hardware store, and it's called waterproof grease. You'll find it by the faucets. So just a little bit dab of that. And what we're going to do here is the two springs came out first. So we're going to drop in a spring in each side, and then we will go ahead and let's just set the buttons in there. And on this particular type, it's important to just make sure everything kind of just goes in straight. Like you don't want to over force it, because if you cut those O-rings, it'll cause a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold the buttons down with our finger, and then we're going to take and start the pin in. And then we got the pin out with this part of the tool, but we're going to push the pin in with this this Allen wrench. Okay, and so I'm going to start pushing carefully. If it feels like it's hitting something, kind of stop, and then we're going to just check and make sure both the buttons feel good. The next part of this is going to be spinning off the front. Okay, and that front's going to come off. We're going to make extra certain to support this. Now I want you to see something right here. Now right there, see how that hole is a little bit oblong? It's like a little bit, that hole is, it's just like a little oval. If you use metal air water syringe tips, they will actually wear away at that. And there's an O-ring, okay, that's on the inside here, that's right down there. This is the part that separates the air from the water. So if you're pushing your air button and you're getting water out, like in that first little bit, it's this part right here. So this kit comes with the 3635 comes with this. We can go ahead and try just cleaning that out a little bit. We'll take the brand new O-ring, and then we'll put a little bit of, just a little bit of lubricant on it. And then I just drop it in there, and then you just use the crescent or the Allen wrench to just kind of shove it in there flat. So that's in there flat. So now we're gonna pull the spring off. Now this part right here, there's a little O-ring, and since we got a new O-ring, we'll replace it. We're gonna take this new O-ring here, and we're gonna put it on here, and see how I kind of kept my finger there to retain it, because that O-ring actually keeps everything together. Now, if you look in here, you're gonna see a set of balls in there, like little balls. There's like 4 or 5 of them. And those balls, if they escape, it's like game over for your syringe, because you're probably not gonna find them. So this is done. We're gonna put this back together. Actually, first we're gonna take the spring, and we'll drop the spring, like we'll put the spring right here, put that back together, and then we'll rotate this until there's like a little notch. Okay, so I want you to see that. There's a notch right there, and there's a pin right there, okay? So everything lines up, and then we're gonna put this part in here while holding everything together and just spin that around in circles, okay? And then that is gonna push in and be good. So all we need to do is just test it with an air water syringe tip. And here are all of our old pieces that we'll put back in the bag. And typically I just throw these away, or let the customer do it. So that is how you rebuild an air water syringe. Now, one of the things is there's a lot of different buttons, so you really need to make sure you have the right button kit before you do this. If you want to know the real easy way, if you're far out or you just maybe have old syringes, what you do is you just get a brand new syringe. It's the DCI syringe. I don't like these syringes as much. The other syringes, the quick clean syringes, are I think better in my opinion. And there's 2 barbs right here. What you can literally do is push these 2 off, cut it, pull the handle off, put a new handle on, put the head on, and it's $75 for a brand new syringe from DCI. That is the way that you would solve that more easily than what I just showed you. But this is what D'Angelo requested, so it's what he gets. So here we go. Somebody's hair there. Throw that down there. All right, so now all we need to do is test, and I'll show you how to do a quick test. Hey, D'Angelo, do you have an air water syringe tip?
Yeah,
please. All right, so I'm going to turn the unit on. Oh, the bottle's off of there. Kool-Aid. And then do you have a bottle with some water in it just to test it out? Yeah, so whenever your technician does work on your unit, you want to test everything they take apart, put back together. Beautiful. Okay, so that bottle right there has seen better days. If your bottle threads look like that, then it's time for a new bottle. Bottle's like, I think $9 or something. So I'll go get you another bottle. And I'll do that right now, and then we'll test it out.
Sounds good.
And I'll show you how to check it. All right, so in the bottle kit comes a cap. That's trash. The bottle and an O-ring. One thing to keep in mind is the O-ring goes up under here, and the O-ring is actually what establishes a seal between the bottle and there. So if you ever have a leaky bottle, replace this part. I don't think that's part of the issue, so we're just gonna go ahead and provide that over to the office, as well as the fill tube, because I think the fill tube is specific to the length of a bottle, but we've already got the right fill tube on here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and let this one ride because it doesn't look like there's any problems. But again, these two parts right here are good spare parts, so I'll provide those. We'll fill it with water. We might want to make sure we don't fill it past like the 3/4 of the bottle. But we'll just fill it probably like a 1/3 right here. All right. Okay. All right, that's what we're going for, complete silence. You don't want to hear any leaking in here. All right, so here's our syringe, here's our tip. We're gonna go ahead and insert that in there. And then what we're gonna do is first we're gonna push the water, make sure the water comes out. Okay, and then we're gonna push the air. So we're gonna go water, air, water, air, water, air. Okay, we're looking for it to be completely dry following the press. My hand's completely dry. Because what will happen is after you wash a tooth or whatever you do with this, if you're trying to dry a tooth and you push the button, the next, like your very next push is the air, and there's that. It's that little tiny O-ring that looks like this that's underneath here. Okay, this is the one that does that. So that's perfect, and that's how you rebuild an air water syringe. So, all right, so we've resolved the vacuum issues. The main things that you need to know on the vacuum is that if there's enough leaks to add up, they will consume the useful end of the vacuum. And then also that screen that's in front of your vacuum in the rooms, if that's clogged, that will affect your vacuum. So that can all add up to problems. And then the plaster trap issue, we've resolved that. And again, understanding, that there's a way to maintain it with that chlorine powder. And then as far as air water syringe, this is a pretty just bread and butter type of a thing. I also noticed here on this, make sure you check your hand pieces, your low speeds. And I don't think there's any water coming through this one, so it probably doesn't matter, but there's a missing O-ring right there. So any of these channels like this need to have a black O-ring. The way you can find that is by looking up the manufacturer, type in O-ring sets. This is an E-type, and then you can just get those. All right.